The escape and now sudden disappearance of Thabo Bester, along with Dr. Nandi Kudumana, has gripped the country. While officials are scrambling to explain how Bester escaped from prison, we ask how difficult it will be to track down Dr. Nandi as well as Bester. Now we're joined by specialist investigator Mike Bolhuis. Mr. Bolhuis, thank you so much for your time here on ENCA. Now, I watch a lot of crime documentaries, right? And you find investigators always saying the first 48 hours are very important. I don't know if this is only to do with murders or every single criminal case. Is it still possible for police to find Thabo Bester, or have they just wasted too much time now?
I think it's going to be very, very difficult to find him. I think this is a specialist criminal, but I would ask the public to take special notice of all the news media and requests, and from the authorities as well, to, if they in any way detect him or find or hear any information of him, to call the authorities. But I think if you look at the careful planning that went into this escape, I mean, it's horrific and it's incredible altogether. And being outside, I'm sure that he's going to make sure that he is not found. However, we can work on information if information comes through, and I think that he can be caught. So the public needs to get involved completely.
So what would be your advice then to officers who have been given this particular case? What would you say they first need to do, especially after you explained that it's going to be very difficult to find him?
I think the mistakes that he can make is communication with others, and those that he has communicated with before, and those that has assisted him in the escape. I'm quite sure that the investigation will show that he was assisted. This was a carefully planned operation. This didn't just happen overnight. I think they took a lot of time planning this thoroughly and carefully, and also planning the escape further on the outside as well. And as we always say, there's no honor amongst criminals. The possibility is there that somebody might squeal or talk or become an informant or give a tip-off. And I think that can assist in the investigation forward. So any communications that he would be doing might show his whereabouts. I also think that he might change his identity and his look. And because there's so many people involved here in this escape, there will be communications amongst themselves. So if one is caught, maybe everybody could be caught together.
And I mean, you know, Mr. Bolhuis, he had already changed his identity and look since his escape last year on the 2nd of May. You know, it was just by someone's luck who saw him and remembered how he looked at a Woolies, I think it was, just a few weeks ago. So clearly you're confirming that time was critical and is still critical. So what are the chances that he might have skipped the country, him and Dr. Nandi?
You take the words out of my mouth. Look, we as specialist investigators always consider what we would do if we would have committed this kind of crime. So that gives us an idea what he might have done. So the possibility that he's gone out of the country is, in my opinion, 80%. However, he has got a big network here, and he has run quite a few businesses in this country. So there might be some time that he would be spending in South Africa, rounding up stuff and then go. So once again, I would request the public and anybody that has been involved with him, if they have any kind of information, if they do not trust the authorities, because the possibility of authorities being involved, they can call us, they can call you guys, ENCA, or they can call the police hotlines. But the information must come out, and I want to impress this on the public. Take in consideration what criminal this is, what kind of criminal he is, and that he's a rapist. And we cannot afford to have this kind of thing happen in our country, that criminals have the edge and can get away with crime. We must do something about it. We must get information. We must catch him.
I mean, two of the worst crimes that he was convicted of, Mr. Bolhayes, rape and murder. But if he has skipped the country, you said you think it's about 80%. What would you advise police then, if indeed he has skipped the country? Where should they start with Interpol?
Well, they should start at prison with a DCS. Everything happened from the word go in prison. All the plans, everything, think for yourself. This man got out of jail whilst another body was lying there and everybody being under the impression that it was him. So this is not easily done, and this needs a lot of people and people being involved. So the first point of investigation is from the point of the crime is escape, where everybody has dealt with him and has been involved with him months before, because this took quite some planning time. And then secondly, everybody that he has been in communication with on the outside, because he ran a criminal organization from prison in the outside in order to make and gain money. And there are many of those. So those are the two things that I would concentrate on. Those who he has been involved with in prison all the time, everybody, every single thing for at least 6 months, if not longer. And everybody that he has been involved with in communications on the outside. And this would require an expert cybercrime unit from the police, which unfortunately I don't think we have, which means it's an extreme digital and electronic investigation into all his communications with those on the outside. Then obviously he will pick up bank information, all his financials, and all the people that he has been involved with in business and those he got money from, extorted, and was in communication with.
Just lastly and very quickly, Mr. Bolhayes, have you ever seen such a case in South Africa?
No, and I hate to say it, but it is a brilliant crime. It's bad. It's unheard of. You see this in movies, but this is South Africa, isn't it? It's getting worse and worse, and these kind of crimes and the kind of crimes they commit, the criminals, is incredible. So they don't lag behind, and they are definitely a step ahead of the authorities. This is unheard of, and it's unthinkable. And I actually cannot understand that this could have actually happened, but it just shows you once again the corruption that we have in our authorities. I can tell you now, there's definitely policemen involved, as well as those from the correctional services. There is just no way that this could have happened without them, and then also many inmates as well. And the chance that we have is that any of those that he has been involved with might come forward or might be identified. Say again?
Maybe high-profile politicians as well? Possibility in terms of how he helped, how much help he got?
Oh, yes, definitely. This kind of crime cannot be committed and cannot be executed without authorities being involved, and that can be as high as the government. We've seen that in many crimes in South Africa, that from the top to the bottom, many of the authorities are involved in assisting criminals to get, well, not to jail, and now, as we see, out of jail. Yeah. So hopefully, once identified, information can be extracted, and as I've said, if one gets caught that has quite some information of his whereabouts plans, it's a possibility.
All right, Mr. Bolhayes, thank you so much for your time here on ENCA. Really enjoyed our conversation. Specialist investigator Mike Bolhayes, he's confirming that this is something out of a movie.